Okay, we're going to get started with our steer show here in just a minute. Mitchell Smith is your judge today. He lives in Pendleton, Indiana, where he owns and operates Smith Family Farms with his wife Courtney and his daughter Wesley. They raise primarily Shorthorn and Angus cattle that they are competitive at local, state, and national level. Mitchell has judged numerous shows across the Midwest. So we'll be looking for those first classes of Angus steers in just a minute.
Well, good afternoon. It's, again, my pleasure to be back here for your steer show today. A nice single entry to go ahead and start off with. One that reads easy feeding in his look. One that is attractive from the side, good in terms of his structure. One that still needs a little bit more time on feed, maybe not quite reach his endpoint yet. But again, a really nice quality single entry Angus steer to go ahead and start off our steer show. Congratulations to that young lady.
Julia Meyer exhibits your first place in Class 20.
Another real practical type of calf here, the one that's easy feeding and soft middled, one that's got some muscle. Maybe would like to see him a shot square and stouter out of the backside of his shoulder. But again, an attractive calf that's got some product, has an easy feeding look. Congratulations to that young man.
Max Hartman, your first place exhibitor in class 21, Angus.
Well, a pretty logical place to start here within this class of Angus steers. This young man's calf is ultra complete in terms of his skeleton and in terms of his balance, and more importantly, he reads more genuine and square out of the backside of his shoulder, feeds with more meat animal shape there, and definitely meets your hand with more turn to his loin edge. One that I definitely think would have the advantage when sent to rail in terms of where he's at in his finishes, and as well in tandem with his muscle quality. A nice calf to go ahead and win that class. Young lady's calf in second, another one that we like in terms of his practicality. He's a soft middle type of steer that reads easy feeding in terms of his look. He's good in terms of his build. Just one that kind of runs out of power and dimension when you study him up high. I'd like him to be a shot heavier muscled, especially right out of the backside of his shoulder. But again, a nice practical, easy feeding looking type of calf. Congratulations to those two individuals.
Logan Meyer, your first place exhibitor. Stephanie Hartman in second.
Another nice single entry, and one that reads with plenty of meat animal shape out of the backside of his shoulder. He's big and square and genuine in terms of his shape up high. One that I'd like to maybe redesign him in terms of how he utilizes his rear leg, relax him a little bit in terms of his joint work. But again, one that's stout and powerful and big-footed. A nice single entry here. Should be competitive out here in your champion drive.
Holly Hooten, your first place exhibitor in 23. We'll bring back those class winners and show for your champion, Angus steer.
Well, a nice set of Angus steers from top to bottom. For me, it does come down to a pair of heavier muscled steers that I think are more genuine in their shape up high. With that being said, I think there's one who probably puts all that together in a little neater package, a little more functional in terms of his build. I'm going to take one more look, and then I'll get you a champion and reserve Angus steer. But congratulations to all these exhibitors.
Logan Meyer is your champion homegrown and champion Angus steer. Holly Hooten is your reserve champion and your reserve champion homegrown Angus.
a nice single entry here within our Charolais division. One that reads with plenty of power and dimension up high. He's square and genuine out of the backside of his shoulder. He feeds with plenty of meat animal shape over his loin edge. One that when you get behind him, he doesn't disappoint you in terms of his power and dimension. Maybe like to free him up, going away from me just a tick, redesign that hind leg just a touch, but one with plenty of power and dimension. One that definitely will be in contention out here later. Congratulations to that young person.
Aubrey Neal is your champion Charolais exhibitor.
A nice pair of steers here as we continue on through our steer show, and I think one that offers us some extras is the logical place to start. Not only is he big and square up high and sets down on a big foot, he's also a steer that's more attractive in terms of his kind, gives you a nice show steer look from the side, a nice one to go ahead and win that class. Another heavy muscled practical one here to go second, one that's good in terms of his body shape, reads with an easy feeding look, one that we appreciate in terms of his muscle and his product. Just like to see him a shot more attractive and maybe a shot more flexible when set into motion. But again, a nice calf to go ahead and go second. Congratulations to both those exhibitors.
Your first place in Class 25, Kingston Buckler, Cassie Franklin in second.
a nice pair of steers, but a pair of steers that offer both of us some structural challenges. Young ladies calves, one that wants to get a little upright and angle to his hock. Like to relax him there and allow him to travel a shot better. With that being said, this one's pretty high quality. Like how this one's head and neck sets into his shoulder. Like how square that one is up high. Got plenty of muscle, got plenty of dimension. Gives us a nice look. Young man's calf coming out next, another stout featured one that's round bodied, really just needs to be redesigned in his hind leg. One that needs to be more comfortable in terms of his hock, one that needs to be redesigned in terms of his pastern to allow him to travel a shot better on the go. But again, I think a pair of nice steers that are definitely out here in contention within this key division.
Olivia Neal, your first place exhibitor. Blake Miller in second. Now we'll show for your champion, Charolais. Kia.
Similar to kind of the breakdown of our last class, both these cattle kind of come to us with a little bit of structural challenges in their own right. But for me, I think there's one that puts a lot of quality on that skeleton and does so with plenty of muscle and plenty of dimension. I'll go shake the hand of your champion. We'll bring a second place back out here and take another look for reserve.
Olivia Neal exhibits your champion, Key. Kingston Buckler is your reserve champion. Now we'll leave our two homegrowns in to pick your homegrown and reserve homegrown. Blake Miller exhibits your homegrown champion. And Cassie Franklin, your reserve champion, homegrown.
a nice, practical, easy feeding type of calf here that's a single entry in this first class of Hereford steers. One that we like in terms of his body shape. Like to add a shot of muscle when you study him up high over his top. Like to redesign his footwork, especially the length of his toe when you study him at the ground. But again, one that we like for his practicality. Congratulations to that young lady.
Kylie Weber, your first place exhibitor.
Another nice Hereford steer here within this class, one that's good in terms of his finish, one that we'd like you to, again, add a shot of muscle when you study him up high, especially out of the backside of his shoulder, one that could definitely be square and more opened up there, but a nice calf in his own right. Excited to get these two Herefords back out and evaluate them for your champion Hereford. Congratulations.
Luke Simon, your first place exhibitor, now will show for your champion Hereford.
A nice pair of Hereford steers out here for your champion Hereford drive. Both of them are practical in their own right. Both of them are good in terms of their build. Both of them, on the other hand, could use a shot more muscle. With that being said, I'll go ahead and get you a champion in reserve. Congratulations to both these individuals.
Luke Simon exhibits your champion and homegrown champion Hereford steer, and your reserve champion and homegrown reserve champion by Kylie Weber.
Young lady brings us a nice single entry, one that's stout and powerful in his makeup. It's got a big foot and sets down on plenty of bone. For me, if I'm going to change him, I'd like to redesign his structure a little bit, set his shoulder angle back in him just a touch, allow him to be a shot more flexible off those rear two. But again, I think one that's got plenty of body and plenty of mass and dimension. Nice single entry here for that young lady. Congratulations to her.
Alexandria Foster is your first place exhibitor.
a really stout-ended, stout-featured calf to go ahead and lead off this class today. One that's big and round in terms of his muscle shape, one that we like in terms of the sweep to his underline and the shape to his rib, one that's attractive up through his head and neck. Maybe this one gets a little round in spots. Maybe this one could tie together a shot nicer in terms of his forerib and loosen up in terms of his top. I think all those things are true, but I think all those things are getting a little critical of a pretty nice steer that's really good in his own right. Congratulations to that young lady. Calf coming out next is one we like in terms of his practicality, and another one that's stout in terms of his feature. He's square out of the back side of his shoulder, reads with plenty of meat animal shape, one we just like to see go a shot better at the ground, fix him in his pastern and loosen him up there, and he'll be more competitive within that class. Congratulations to both those exhibitors.
Aubrey Neal, your first place exhibitor. Cassie Franklin, second.
A really nice single entry here for this young lady. Appreciate this big outlined calf that still reads with plenty of muscle and dimension. He meets my hand with plenty of roundness of shape over his loin edge. One that maybe we'd like to clean up through his front 1/3, balance him up just a shot better up front. One that maybe we could also stouten him up in the upper portion to his pin set. But again, one that we like in terms of muscle and dimension. Congratulations to that young lady.
Haley Kuntz, your first place in class 31. Now we'll show for your champion, Maine.
A competitive drive out here as we study for champion Maine. I do think there's one that sorts himself to the top relatively handily. He's square, he's stout, he's plenty attractive and good balanced. I'll go shake the hand of your champion. We'll bring back respective second and take a look and get you a reserve. But again, congratulations to all our Maine steer exhibitors.
Aubrey Neal exhibits your champion, Maine. Haley Kuntz is your reserve champion, Maine. Next we'll show for your champion, Shorthorn. Reminder to all beef exhibitors, before you take your show clothes off, have your auction pictures made. When you're done with your last class, have your auction pictures taken.
A nice single entry Shorthorn steer here, one that reads with plenty of muscle and plenty of dimension. He's practical in terms of his body shape, one that we appreciate for how complete he is. A nice single entry here for this young lady. Go ahead and congratulate her on her project if you would.
Allie Hooten exhibits your champion and homegrown champion Shorthorn steer.
A really nice single entry lightweight steer here as we move into our Simmental division. One that there's a lot of things to like about. He's good in terms of his structure. He's attractive through his front 1/3. Reads with plenty of muscle shape. Simply this guy needs more time on feed, both in terms of where his muscle shape at, both in terms of where his muscle is at and terms of where his finish is at. But I think this young lady keeps this high quality project going, and I definitely think that he will make a nice fat steer here on down the road. Congratulations to her.
Laney Thompson, your first place exhibitor.
Young man's calf that goes ahead and wins, I think does so because of his build. He's a lot better in terms of his pastern. He's a lot more functional in terms of his hock and hind leg. Once we get past that, I think this is a pair of cattle that are both practical in terms of their body shape, both adequate in terms of muscle. But again, it's the added build, structural correctness and build that makes the young man's a nice place to start. The young lady's in second, like we mentioned before, one that is practical in her center body and got some muscle. And this one may be a touch stouter than the calf in front of her, but this one needs to be redesigned in terms of his hock, needs to be fixed in terms of his pastern, allowed to relax and take a longer and more fluent stride if we're going to want them to be more competitive within this division. Congratulations to both those exhibitors.
Mason Baylor, first place exhibitor. Madeline Miller in second.
A nice pair of red steers here, but I think the logical place to start is with the young man's calf that offers us with quite a bit more power. One that's real stout-hipped and big-footed, square and genuine in terms of the meat animal shape that feeds out of the backside of that one's shoulder. For me, my issues with him lie in terms of his build. He's a little straighter in terms of his shoulder, needs to be a shot better in terms of his hock, but again, we appreciate that one in terms of his power and dimension. Really practical, easy feeding type of calf coming next, soft and robust in terms of his center body, one that's probably a shot looser skeleton than the one directly ahead of him, one that just needs to be a shot more attractive and come with a shot more power if we want him to be more competitive within this class. Congratulations to both those exhibitors.
Clark Dwanger, your first place exhibitor. McKinley Baylor in second.
An interesting pair of cattle to break down, and the young man's calf that we're going to start with is probably a little past his end point when we talk about where he's at and his condition, one that maybe we need to freshen up just a touch to be ideal. But I do think there's more genuine muscle and power and product in that calf. He's easier feeding in terms of his look. Young lady's calf that comes in second is probably on the other end of the spectrum for how big that one is. That one's still a little raw in terms of his condition, a little dry in terms of his forerib. One that we like the added extension up front, added length of the side, just like him to see him come with a shot more power and dimension. A nice pair of cattle there. Congratulations to both those exhibitors.
Matthew Baylor, your first place exhibitor. Lady Norwald, your second.
A nice practical kind of calf to go ahead and win. The red steer is one that's round and robust in terms of his body shape. Gives you an easy feeding look. When you get your hands on him, there's still plenty of muscle there. He's a big-footed, stout-featured type of calf. Yeah, is he the most attractive thing in the world? No, but I think he does the basics right and a really nice practical type of cattle. Young lady's calf that's going to come next is one that probably does hold that advantage in attractiveness. A nice fronted, flat-shouldered type of calf. But for me, this one's plenty large in terms of his frame size. I'd like to see him with a shot more mass, and then definitely needs to be further along in terms of his finish when you study him over his 13th and back. But one that we like in terms of his foot size, we like in terms of his attractiveness. Just needed to see a shot more steer there for him to be competitive. Congratulations to both of those exhibitors.
Hayden Smith, your first place exhibitor. Ali Hooten in second. Now we're going to show for your champion, Simmental.
Another big Simmental show here within your shows today, and I think a nice set of cattle out here when we get them back out here and get to evaluate them together. For me, I think it comes down to a pair of cattle that are more practical in terms of their kind and offer us with plenty of product and dimension. And then from there, I think one of those does those things with a little bit of extras in terms of attractiveness and balance. With that being said, I'll go ahead and shake the hand of your champion. We'll bring back the second and take another look for reserve. But go ahead and put your hands together for all your Simmental steer exhibitors, if you would.
Clark Dwanger is your champion exhibitor of Simmental. Hayden Smith is your reserve champion. Now we'll leave our homegrowns in to show for your homegrown champion in reserve. Matthew Baylor, your champion homegrown. McKinley Baylor, your reserve champion homegrown. Remember, when you finish your steer class, you need to have your auction pictures made. All beef members have auction pictures made today.
Another nice single entry here as we continue on with our show. One that we like in terms of his practicality and easy feeding look. Deep, soft-centered type of calf. One that's a shot more raw in terms of his shape. He needs a shot more cover to be considered market ready, but one that we like in terms of, again, that practicality and that look and that balance. So congratulations to that young man.
Chase Minders is your champion exhibitor and homegrown champion sim solution.
A nice single entry Holstein steer here as we move into the dairy portion of our show. One we like in terms of his build. He's good in terms of his structure, nice in terms of his feet. One we like to see a little more opened up, come with a shot more power and dimension, but one that we appreciate in terms of that build and that practicality. Congratulations to that young man.
Quentin Seringhouse, your first place exhibitor in Class 39 dairy beef steers.
As we continue with the dairy steer portion of the show, I think a nice trio to sort. For me, it's the light colored one that reads with the most practical in terms of his kind. He's the easiest feeding in terms of his center. He's the one that reads with the most shape and the most dimension over his pin set when you study him up high. One that maybe could be a shot more attractive, and that's probably where the one in second holds his advantage. He's a little bit square when you study him up high. He's a little more attractive through his jawline. But for me, he wants to close at the ground, wants to taper a little bit there, like to fix him in his foot shape as well. Young lady's calf that's going to round out the class, another practical, easy feeding type of calf, one that we just like to see with a shot more muscle and a shot more balance, wants to roll and drop in his pin set. Again, another practical type of calf, though. Congratulations to those three exhibitors.
Jaden Harrington, your first place exhibitor, Zoe Mears second, and Bella Stone in third.
Another nice single entry, one that balances well from the side, one that we appreciate his growth and performance, a round middled, soft center type of calf, one that will definitely be competitive out here when we get into our champion dairy steer. Congratulations to this young lady.
Callie Comer, your first place exhibitor in that class.
Another nice single entry, one that's sound in terms of his structure, one that we like in terms of his muscle shape up high. He reads with some genuine meat animal shape when you study him out of the backside of his shoulder. One that could be a shot more extended through his front 1/3, made a shot more attractive there. But again, one we like his muscle and we like his basic build. A nice calf for that young man. Go ahead and congratulate him if you will.
Lane Carroll, your first place exhibitor in class 42.
Another nice single entry, one that's stout and square over the top side of his pin set, one that goes to the ground on a big foot and a heavy structure, one that we like for his balance. Another one that we could maybe make a shot more attractive through his front 1/3, lay his shoulder in him just a touch neater. But again, one that we appreciate for that added power and dimension and genuine meat animal shape. Congratulations to that young man.
Caleb Werner, your first place exhibitor. Now we'll bring back those class winners to show for your champion dairy beef.
Well, as we bring these class winners back out here for your champion dairy beef, I think for me it comes down to a pair of them that are stouter in terms of their feature, offer more muscle and genuine meat animal shape when you study them up high, and are also approaching an appropriate end weight for these cattle, which is quite a bit larger than that of your beef steers. But again, it's still important at the end of the day to get these things right in terms of their finish, so that we offer the consumer a quality product. So that being said, I'll go ahead and shake the hand of your champion and then get you a reserve. But congratulations to all our dairy beef exhibitors.
Caleb Warner, your champion dairy beef exhibitor. Elaine Carroll, reserve champion. Yeah, Dad came to me and said that was not homegrown.
A nice single entry here as we move back into the beef side of things, and one that has some quality, a big-footed type of calf that's attractive and square, just simply needs some more time on feed. This one's a shot green in terms of his condition. I like to see him a shot more mature, but again, one that we like in terms of his look and balance. Congratulations to that young lady.
Your first place exhibitor, Josephine Hall.
Another nice single entry, one that we like in terms of his chest floor, how attractive he is up through his front 1/3, one that's good in terms of his structure. Another one that's a shot greener and rawer in terms of his condition and in terms of his muscle shape. Another one that needs some more time on feed, but congratulations to that young lady.
First place exhibitor, Caitlin Seringhouse.
A nice pair of cattle here as we continue on in the Crossbred division. And when the young man's calf that's going to go ahead and start, for me, he's just stouter and more genuine in his muscle shape. He's square out of the backside of his shoulder. He's better about the width to his loin, one that's got a big foot. And when he's stout when you get behind him. Young man's calf coming out next, one that probably ties his head and neck higher out of the top side of his shoulder, one that's probably more genuine in terms of his body shape and how round and robust he is there. For me, he gets a shot course about his top line. He wants to get a little weaker and narrower right out of the backside of his shoulder. But again, one that we like in terms of his balance and his look. Congratulations to both of those exhibitors.
Cody Franklin, your first place exhibitor. Easton McKittrick, second.
an interesting trio to go ahead and sort. For me, the two heavier muscle type cattle logically find their places into 1 and 2. And the young lady's calf's just simply smoother. She's better and smoother he's better and smoother, out of the backside of his shoulder over his top line. He's more correct in terms of how more correct in terms of how his tailhead lays into his hip. One that's attractive through his front 1/3 gives you a nice balanced look. Young lady's calf coming in second. We like quite a bit in terms of his power and dimension up high. One that's maybe better in terms of the angle to his shoulder. Unfortunately, he gets a notch coarser in some spots. Need to redesign him in terms of his pastern and his foot, but one that's definitely got some power and dimension. Practical, easy feeding type cattle coming in third. One that's soft and robust through that center portion of his body. Just needs a shot more muscle shape and dimension if he wants to be competitive with the two above him. But again, a nice trio of calves within that class.
Michaela Hilton-Bido, your first place exhibitor. Tessa Schott, your second, and Max Hartman in third.
Top pair of cattle here within this class that are really similar in their kind. They're both moderate, stout-featured, big muscle type cattle. For me, the young man's calf is just a little bit more fluent in terms of his movement, a little bit looser in terms of his joint work. Then when you get your hands on him, he's a little more uniform and smoother in terms of his condition and his finish up high. I think that makes him the logical place to start. Young lady's calf coming out next, one that we like and has a show steer look. Fortunately, when you ask this one to be put in motion, he's extremely uncoordinated and uncomfortable off his rear too. Would like to relax him and fix him there, maybe smooth him up in his condition just a touch, but a nice pair of steers there in this class in his own right. Young lady's calf coming out next, another practical, easy feeding type of cattle that looks extremely profitable. For me, I just like to see him with a shot more muscle when you study him up high and out through his lower quarter. But again, one we like his build and his easy feeding look. Congratulations to that young lady.
Your first place exhibitor, Kingston Buckler, Allison Buchanan in second, and Zoe Eichler in third.
A top pair of cattle in this class that both bring some muscle and some product to the table. And with that being said, I think the young man's calf brings a look of quality, and therefore he easily wins. He's level and square about his hip. He's good in terms of his leg, one that's up-headed and attractive, and combines that with the muscle needed to be competitive. Young man's calf coming in second, one that we like in terms of stoutness of power and dimension. Unfortunately, one that gets a shot coarser in terms of his look. Needs to be redesigned in terms of his foot, needs to be smoothed up in terms of his shoulder, but one that we like a great deal in terms of that power. Bottom pair of cattle that need both are similar in their type and kind. They're cattle that are functional, practical, and profitable in terms of their center body. They're easy feeding. Unfortunately, they don't come with the added muscle and dimension that we need to be more competitive on the upper end of this class. Young man's calf's just a little bit stouter hipped. I like him a shot better on the standstill there. Young lady's calf that's going to round out the class. Want to tie that one's chest up in him just a touch, stouting that one up from behind. But again, one that we like in terms of practicability.
Benjamin Knowlton, your first place exhibitor. Lane Simon in second, Joseph Brewington third, and Zoe Eichler in fourth.
A nice pair of cattle here within this class that both bring plenty of muscle and dimension, and for me it's a structure-based decision that makes this one a logical place to start. He's a lot more comfortable in terms of how he handles his hind leg when asked to go. He's better in terms of his pasturing. A real smooth-shouldered, nice fronted type of calf, one that we like from the side a great deal. Young lady's calf in second, big cage, stout featured type calf, one that's a little straighter shouldered, one that needs to be redesigned in terms of his hind leg. But again, we appreciate his power and his dimension. Nice calf there to go second. Congratulations to both those exhibitors.
Michaela Hilton Beidel, your first place exhibitor. Haley Kuntz in second.
A nice heavyweight steer out here in the Crossbred division, one that's really good in terms of where he's at and his finish, one that's smooth when you study him over his top line. One that maybe we'd like to stouten up just a touch when you study him behind the backside of his shoulder. Want to set his shoulder in him just a little bit, but again, one that balances really nice, one that's really good in terms of his finish and his condition for how big he is. Congratulations to this young lady. Excited to sort your champion Crossbred steer.
Laney Norwald, your first place exhibitor, will bring back those first place class winners and show for your champion Crossbred.
We'll go ahead and put your hands together for a high-quality set of crossbred steers. This crossbred division's been really deep and really tough, but I do think it comes down to a pair of steers that are both good in terms of their muscle shape, good in terms of their build, and then offer some added look and added attractiveness. For me, there's one that kind of sorts to the top in terms of just added length and extension. But with that being said, I'll go ahead and get you a champion. We'll take a look at the respective second, and then we'll get you a reserve. But if you would, go ahead and put your hands together for these exhibitors one more time.
Michaela Hilton Vital exhibits your champion crossbred steer. Benjamin Knowlton, your reserve champion. We'll leave our homegrowns in to show for your homegrown champion and reserve champion.
Another nice drive out here for your champion crossbred homegrown steer. I think there's a couple of them that provide us both with muscle and power and still some balance and look. With that being said, I'll go ahead and get your champion in reserve. Congratulations to all these young people that raised these high quality calves.
Michaela Hilton Beidel exhibits your homegrown champion. We'll bring back Max Hartmans from that class 47 and show for your reserve champion. Wayne Simon is your reserve champion homegrown. Okay, here's your grand champion drive. Your Angus exhibitor, Logan Meyer. Your Charolais exhibitor, Aubrey Neal. Your Key exhibitor, Olivia Neal. Showing your Hereford is Luke Simon. Your Maine Angus exhibited by Aubrey Neal. Your Shorthorn steer champion, Allie Hooten. Your Simmental champion, Clark Dwanger. Chase Minders brings in his Sim Solution champion. Caleb Werner with his Dairy Beef. And your Crossbred champion, Michaela Hilton Beidel. Put your hands together for your grand champion steer drive.
Well, I apologize for taking a minute, but I think the quality of these cattle deserves to be reevaluated out here once we get them back out here with some competition after we've gotten through their respective breeds. With that being said, it's a tremendous set of steers out here in your grand drive. If you would, go ahead and put your hands together for all these exhibitors. For me, I think it does come down to about 4 steers out here that are legitimately in contention, and these cattle for me are good structured and big backed and stout ended, and cattle that offer some power and some dimension and genuine product, but still are good at the ground and attractive when you study them from the side. With that being said, again, it's been my pleasure to come out here and short your steer show today. The kids have been tremendous. I'm excited to get a chance to work with them here in the drive here later on, or in showmanship, excuse me, later on. It should be a tremendous time, and they've been awesome all week, or all afternoon, excuse me. With that being said, too, I want to take a second and thank the ring help out here. They've done a fabulous job all day, and then the people that have got me out here to do that. It's been my pleasure to get a chance to work with your kids. So if you would, go ahead and put one more round of applause together. I'll take one more look, and then I'll get you a champion and reserve steer.
Aubrey Neal with her Charolais is your grand champion steer. Michaela Hilton Beidle is your reserve grand champion. bring in our homegrown champions, and we'll show for your grand and reserve grand homegrown. While we're waiting for them to come in, we'll have the royalty introduce themselves, who've helped us pass out ribbons all week.
Hi, my name's Emily Knieven. I am Miss Congeniality and third runner-up of Miss Ripley County 2022.
Hello, my name's Carly Bushhorn, and I am the 2022 Miss Ripley County.
Hello, I'm Louis Derringer, and I'm this year's 4-H Fair King.
We would like to thank Tom Teepee Auto Center for their donation of the new sound system. And if you look to the east end of the show arena, there's a list of 22 sponsors that helped make our auction for the cattle project a success, raising over $16,000. So thanks for all those supporters. And Miles will read off the trophy and award sponsors. Without them, we could not give the awards we do in 4-H.
A big thank you to Bill Dixon and family, Charles Baylor and family, Tom and Shayna Cutter with Cutter Hay and Cattle, Danielle's Barnyard Daycare, Farm Credit Mid-America, Fraley Implement, Fred Glover, Friendship State Bank, Gabbard Feed Excavating and Trailer Rental, Gene and Karen Kunz, Gene Pitts and family, Gerald and Rose Gauk, Hag Ford, Jason and Monica Hansen and family, Jeff and Leah Minders, Lowe's Pellets and Grain, McDonald's of Southeastern Indiana, Napoleon 4-H Country Club, Napoleon Locker Plant, Obermeyer Agri Group, the Paget family, Pierceville Hay Pals 4-H Club, Pollard's Bowl and Pub, Steve Pitts family, Stonebridge Seed Sales, the Napoleon State Bank, the Schumerman Law Firm, and Twisted Creek Farms.
Blake Miller is your homegrown grand champion. And Cassie Franklin with her key steers, your reserve grand champion homegrown. Remember, all beef exhibitors, get your auction pictures taken now. We'll take about 5 minutes, and Junior Showman, you're up in 5 minutes. Junior Showmanship. Okay, while we're waiting for the junior showmanship, we are going to bring the rated gang calves in.